Subscribe to our YouTube channel and press the bell icon to get the latest updates.
Good afternoon to all of you. My senior colleagues, Shri Mallikarjun Kharge ji and Shri Jairam Ramesh ji are with me. This statement is being made on behalf of the Congress Party. It's a fairly long statement running to about 2.5 pages. But it is intended to be a pre-budget assessment of the economy and our suggestions for the budget. So while I will take a few minutes to read it, kindly be patient with me, and then we will answer questions. The budget for 2021-22 will be presented 4 days from now. The Congress Party wishes to place before the people its assessment of the year that will conclude on 31st March 2021 and a list of things that need to be done in 2021-22. At the outset, we may state that we have no expectations that this government will accept our assessment or will heed our diagnosis of and prescription for the economy. We know that this government is exceptionally obstinate, impervious to good advice, and uncaring about the calamitous consequences of its economic policies. Nevertheless, we shall place our views before the people of this country. The budget for 2020-21 began to unravel within weeks of its presentation. The Congress Party had, even at that time, pointed out that the assumptions behind the budget were wrong and the targets set were unattainable. Even without the pandemic, the economy would have continued on the downward path that had begun in the first quarter of 2018-19 and continued for 8 successive quarters. The pandemic pushed the economy into an abyss, minus 23.9% in Q1 of 2020-21 and minus 7.5% in Q2. The current finance minister has a distinction of presiding over the first recession in 4 decades. The year 2021 will end with negative growth. None of the numbers estimated at the beginning of the year will be achieved. The revenue targets will be missed by a large margin. Capital investment will take a hit. The revenue deficit will be close to 5%, and the fiscal deficit will exceed 7%. There is no point in wasting time over the budget of 2020-21. It was a disaster at the start and will be a catastrophe at the end of the fiscal year. We are afraid that the FM will present a dressed-up revised estimates for 2020-21 and attempt to build an attractive narrative for 2021-22. The revised estimates for 2020-21 will be a set of false numbers, and therefore the budget estimates for 2021-22 will be a conjurer's illusion. We believe that the reality is the economy is in a recession. The recovery will be slow and painful, and the rate of GDP growth in 2021-22 in constant prices will be modest, no more than 5%. The current unemployment rates are rural 9.2% and urban 8.9%. The level of unemployment in 2021-22 will remain high. Most jobs that were lost will not come back, and the rate of creation of new jobs will be small. The wage cuts in the organized sector may be restored, but real wages will not grow in 21-22. Agriculture will grow at a satisfactory rate if the government does not arbitrarily disrupt the sector with anti-farmer laws and retrograde import-export policies for agricultural produce. The industry sector will not attract huge investments because of low savings rate inadequate credit growth, protectionism, crony capitalism, encouragement of monopolies, a climate of distrust, and vindictive administrative actions. The services sector will achieve moderate growth because it will be technology-driven, but the growth rate of jobs in that sector will be low. Exports and imports will be in the doldrums because of the protectionist policies and the world economy not fully recovering in 21-22. The current rates of inflation are high and painful, but it is likely that any further increase in inflation may be contained by rate hikes by the RBI, and because of the mishandling of the economy and the government's underwhelming response to the pandemic, economic inequalities have grown. A report by Oxfam titled Inequality Virus shows that the vast majority have lost incomes and livelihoods, while a tiny few at the top have multiplied their wealth. 7 years of the Modi government have wrecked our economy and the prospects of high growth. Dr. Arvind Subramanian, former CEA, described the period 2004 to 2010 as the golden years of the Indian economy. The equivalent period of 2014 to 2020 has witnessed the slow but inexorable descent into a deep hole. The conclusion of a recent study by Brookings using IMF and World Bank data is humiliating, but not surprising at all. The biggest rise in poverty will be in India, and India will overtake Nigeria and become the country with the largest number of poor people. And that is the contribution of the Modi government at the end of 7 years. Looking ahead, we do not see a V-shaped recovery. We believe that the recovery, slow and painful, will still leave millions of households struggling to survive, and it will resemble more the letter K. As a result, inequality will increase. Those who are behind will be pushed back further. We recognize that there are some imperatives that fall outside economic management, such as A, increase in expenditure on health infrastructure, and B, increase in defense expenditure. The Congress Party will support significant increase under both heads. As regards the economy, what need to be done to stem the decline and accelerate the recovery have been identified by a number of economists, including those who have supported the Modi government in the past. We believe that the following steps need to be taken. 1. Impart a large fiscal stimulus to the economy, even if it is belated. Such a stimulus alone will put money in the hands of the people and stimulate demand. 2. Make direct cash transfers to 20 to 30% of the families at the bottom of the economy, at least for a period of 6 months. 3. Formulate and implement a rescue plan for MSMEs to revive closed units, recover the jobs that were lost, and create new jobs for those who have moderate education and skills. 4. Reduce tax rates, especially GST and other indirect taxes, for example, cesses on petrol and diesel. 5. Increase government capital expenditure. 6. Recapitalize public sector banks immediately and encourage them to lend without fear of investigating agencies probing every loan. 7. Abandon protectionist policies, re-engage with the world, enter into bilateral trade agreements with as many countries as possible, and remove the bias against imports. 8. Formulate sector-specific revival packages for telecommunication, power, mining, construction, aviation, and tourism and hospitality. 9. Review and rescind amendments to tax laws that have been widely viewed as tax terrorism. 10. Initiate a comprehensive and time-bound review of the regulations made by RBI, SEBI, TRAI, CERC, and other regulatory agencies that have been widely regarded as over-regulation. As we said, we have no expectations from this government. Our effort today is to highlight the wrong policies, the incompetent economic management, and the missed opportunities. By a stroke of good fortune, if even a part of the agenda that we have set out is accepted by the government, and we do not crave any acknowledgement, we shall be happy and relieved for the sake of the people of India. Thank you.
अभी जो बातें बजट के सिलसिले में कहा गया उसको हट के मैं दो चीज़ें आपको बताना चाहता हूँ। एक फार्मर्स का इशू जो बहुत बड़ा इशू है और फार्मर्स कम से कम अब 64 दिन से बॉर्डर पे बैठे हुए हैं, लेकिन सरकार 3 काले कानूनों को वापस लेना नहीं चाहती। इसके लिए देश के सारे किसान लड़ रहे हैं अपने अपने जगह, और खासकर पंजाब, हरियाणा, वेस्टर्न यूपी, यहाँ के किसान तो रास्ते पे बैठे हैं, लेकिन सरकार उधर ध्यान नहीं दे रही उस समस्या को सुलझाने के लिए। सिर्फ वो मीटिंग बुलाते हैं। अब तक तो उन्होंने 11 मीटिंग बुलाए हैं और हर मीटिंग में क्या क्या हुआ ये बताने के लिए वक्त नहीं है, आप सबको मालूम ही है। लेकिन 11 मीटिंग होने के बाद भी अगर किसानों की समस्या हल करने के लिए सरकार तैयार नहीं है तो वो एक रास्ता निकाले कि इन किसानों को किस ढंग से डिवाइड करेंगे, या ऐसा एक तरीका उन्होंने निकाला कि लोग बैठ बैठ कर थक जाएंगे, वो अपने आप घर चले जाएंगे। या दूसरा तरीका उनका कि किसानों के अंदर फूट डालने की कोशिश भी उन्होंने की और थोड़ा बहुत कुछ उन्होंने सक्सीड भी किया। लेकिन हम ये चाहते हैं, हम सारे पार्टी के लोग इस किसान आंदोलन को सपोर्ट किए हैं, इसमें कोई दो राय बात नहीं है, क्योंकि इस कानून के खिलाफ हमने पार्लियामेंट में लड़ने की कोशिश की, वहाँ पर इसका चर्चा नहीं हुआ। राज्यसभा में इसके लिए वोटिंग की कोशिश की, वहाँ पर 8 लोगों को सस्पेंड किया गया, जिसमें कांग्रेस के 3 लोग थे। तो ये बगैर चर्चा, बगैर स्टैंडिंग कमेटी को भेजे, बगैर स्टेक होल्डर्स को इन्वॉल्व करके ये जो कानून लाया गया, इसके खिलाफ जो आंदोलन चल रहा है, उस आंदोलन के लिए हम सभी लोग किसानों के साथ हैं। लेकिन चंद लोग किसान को बदनाम करने के लिए और उसमें उनको अलग थलग करने के लिए कोशिश किए, लेकिन किसान थकने वाला नहीं है। ये उनकी होशियारी है, उन्होंने जो 26 जनवरी को किया। और मैं साफ साफ ये कहूँगा कि कौन लीडर था या कौन किसान था या कौन आदमी था जिसने रेड फोर्ट पे, लाल किले पे जाकर झंडा लगाया और सरकार उसको देखते रही। क्या आपकी इंटेलिजेंस नहीं है कौन क्या करने वाले हैं? 26 तारीख के दिन के लिए तो सारे इंटेलिजेंस और जो इंफॉर्मेशन आईबी डिपार्टमेंट, जो भी पुलिस वाले होते हैं और यहाँ की जो पुलिस कमिश्नर, ये अलर्ट होते हैं और सब तरफ देखते रहते हैं कि क्या होने वाला, किधर कुछ। इतना रहते हुए भी वो 3-4 ट्रैक्टर्स आए कैसे अंदर? क्या साइकिल था? क्या मोटरसाइकिल था? क्या कोई एक आदमी भागते भागते गया? अरे बाजाब्ता जब ट्रैक्टर लेके अंदर घुस रहा है तो सरकार की इंटेलिजेंस कहाँ थी? तो ये जो हादसा हुआ या ये जो घटना हुई, ये घटना तो हम कंडम करते हैं कि ऐसी 26 गणतंत्र के दिन ऐसी चीज नहीं होना चाहिए। और इसके लिए तो कांग्रेस पार्टी इसका कंडम की है, करेगी और कोई भी करेगा तो करे। लेकिन सरकार के जो ये फेल्यूअर्स हैं, उन्होंने जो ये इसके नज़रअंदाज किया, ये अपने इंटेलिजेंस से कोई उन्होंने नहीं लिया, तो उसके वजह से ये हादसा हुआ है। मैं ये कहूँगा कि इस आंदोलन को तोड़ने के लिए बीजेपी सरकार ने पूरी अपनी ताकत लगाई है। और जो आदमी लाल किले पे चढ़ता है, वो आदमी शाहजी के साथ उसको फोटो, शाहजी बोले तो शाहजी महाराज नहीं, हमारे जो होम मिनिस्टर है शाह, उनके घर में उसकी फोटो होती है, सोफा पे बैठ के फोटो लेते हैं। और एक छोटा सा चिमटी भी वहाँ हमारे मोदी साहब के घर में नहीं घुसता, एमपी जाता ही नहीं, मिनिस्टर को भी कोई प्रवेश नहीं है। कैबिनेट जब होती है तो तब जब उनको अंदर बुलाएंगे तभी छोड़ेंगे। तो ऐसे वक्त उनके घर में वो भी ठहर के फोटो अगर लेते हैं तो आदमी या तो उनका एमपी का बहुत ही क्लोज आदमी हो सकता है या प्राइम मिनिस्टर का भी पहचानत का आदमी हो सकता है। तो ये जो फोटो गीटो निकाले, इससे यही मालूम होता है कि सरकार के लोग ही इसमें मिलके ये काम किए हैं और आज हमको उसको देखना चाहिए। तो मैं यही कहना चाहता हूँ, ये तीनों कानून को वो वापस लेने जल्दी और किसानों को राहत दे। हम इसको पार्लियामेंट में भी फिर से उठाने की कोशिश हम करेंगे और हमारी जितनी भी ताकत है और दूसरे पार्टी के साथ भी हमारे नेता लोग बात कर रहे हैं, सब मिलके इसके बारे में हम तय करके फाइट करेंगे। दूसरी चीज़ ये लेबर इश्यू है। देखिए, लेबर के कानून को भी धड़ाधड़ उन्होंने पास किया। पहले तो ऑर्डिनेंस निकाला, फिर उसको पास कर लिया। अरे ये कानून तो करोड़ों लोगों के लिए एक मरण शासक है। तो इतने तीनों कानून उन्होंने सिर्फ 2-3 घंटे में पास किए हैं। तो इसका मतलब क्या है? चाहे वो सोशल सिक्योरिटी का हो, चाहे वेजेस का हो, चाहे इंडस्ट्रियल रिलेशन का हो और ऑक्यूपेशनल सेफ्टी और वर्किंग कोड का हो, ये जो कानून लाए हैं, ये भी आज हमारे वर्किंग क्लास को भी, लेबर्स को भी बहुत बड़ा आघात इससे पहुंचा है। इसके ऊपर भी हम फिर से लड़ेंगे। ये तो पास वो कर लिए हैं कि वो किनको पूछते नहीं। और डेमोक्रेसी मैं समझता हूँ डेमोक्रेसी में चर्चा होती है, ऐसा सब लोग कहते हैं और हम भी कहते हैं, और चर्चा से ही हल निकलता है। लेकिन यहाँ पर एक आदमी कहता है, वही अनुष्ठान में आता है। इसीलिए उसके बारे में भी फिर से हम लड़ेंगे। और आज जो वर्किंग क्लास जो बोलने के मूड में नहीं है, फिर भी वो लोग अपना एजिटेशन करे, बहुत से चीज़ें रखे, तो भी गवर्नमेंट उनके बात को भी सुनने को तैयार नहीं है, तो फिर उनका भी इश्यू हम उठाएंगे। और ये जो चीज़ें हैं, जो बजट के बारे में हमारे सीनियर लीडर चिदम्बरम जी, रमेश जी सब मिलके, सो हम सभी लोग थे डॉक्टर मनमोहन सिंह जी के नेतृत्व में जो तैयार किए गए थे, और उसका पूरा निचोड़ आपको चिदम्बरम जी ने बताया है। वो सवाल तो हम उनके सामने रखेंगे, ये चीज़ें तो। लेकिन जैसा कि चिदम्बरम साहब ने कहा कि हम तो अपने बातों को रखेंगे, वो कितना मानेंगे या न मानेंगे ये तो उनके ऊपर छोड़ेंगे, लेकिन कहना हमारा फ़र्ज़ है, लोगों को बताना हमारा फ़र्ज़ है, तो वो काम हम करेंगे। वैसा ही उसको जोड़ते हुए लेबर लॉज और किसान के बारे में भी हम उठाएंगे। धन्यवाद।
धन्यवाद सर। हम आपके सवाल लेंगे, इसी मुद्दे पे रखेंगे सवाल।
Yes.
डाउन करेंगे भाई हम।
ऑन योर राइट सर।
We hold the government squarely responsible. I have pointed out in our statement 8 successive quarters from 2018-19, 4 quarters in 2018-19, 4 quarters in 2019-20. The economy went down from 8% to about 4.1%. The pandemic worsened it. The way the pandemic was managed is again the responsibility of the government. So the government is squarely responsible for the pre-pandemic slowdown and for the acuteness of the economic situation by its mishandling of the pandemic consequences.
Sir, my question is to you as a former Home Minister. Even as we talk, Amit Shah is visiting various hospitals to ask about the well-being of the police personnel who are injured. Now, farm union leaders are saying on the other side that they have checked with all the hospitals and there are very minor injuries. Your party has asked for the resignation of the Home Minister. How do you see the role of the Home Minister in this entire matter, considering that the chief accused was also sitting with him in the court?
So as Kargeji mentioned, there is a widespread belief that the incidents of Red Fort were instigated by sections close to the BJP, and that any government with even a rusty intelligence machinery should have known that something like this will happen. But the fact that they allowed tractors to enter the Red Fort complex and the police stood by while no more than 500 so-called farmers, protesters, climbed on the ramparts and raised the flag, shows that there was connivance between the government and the so-called protesters. So all this means that the buck stops at the Home Minister's table. The buck stops at the Home Minister's table. He should answer whether there was intelligence failure. He should conduct a probe into whether there was connivance between sections of the BJP or BJP supporters and the so-called protesters who entered Red Fort. The finger points to the Home Minister. That's what Kargeji pointed out. So a number of people have asked for his resignation. So has the Congress party.
Thank you, sir. Next question, please. Yeah.
Press conference is on this.
Please, limit your question to budget.
That's a separate press conference.
अलग से बात करेंगे उसके बारे में.
अलग से बात करें.
आज इसी विषय पर रखें, बजट से संबंधित प्रश्न रखें. जी सामने.
So the BJP has squarely held Rahul Gandhi responsible. Mr. Javadekar also has press conference said so. And if I could quote him, he says that Rahul Gandhi in Tamil Nadu said that the truth is that most farmers do not understand the details of the bill because if they did, there would be an agitation all across the country would be on fire. He says these statements of Rahul Gandhi instigated the crowd to turn into a mob and created an vandalism.
Well, I don't think you should take the Minister for Misinformation and Broadcasting very seriously. His response is standard. For anything that happens in the country, he will blame Mr. Rahul Gandhi and the Congress party. Has he ever responded in a different way?
जी, विजय.
Since yesterday also Congress party did make a demand that the buck stops at Home Minister's doorstep. Today also you're saying so. Is this the demand that Congress party is going to make in the upcoming parliament session also? Is this the issue that you'll be raising on the floor of the House as well?
The issue that we will be raising is a substantive issue. As Kargeji pointed out, the substantive issue about the anti-farm laws. And since this is the budget session, we will be raising substantial issues about the economy, the dismal state of the economy, and when the budget is presented, we will raise serious questions about the budget assumptions and the budget numbers. Those are the issues that we will raise. Politically, the buck stops at the Home Minister's table, and that's what we are pointing out.
Thank you, sir. On your right, sir, Dainik Jagran, Sanjay Mishra ji.
Chidambaram sir, you said you have presented the wish list of the Congress for the budget. But considering the situation of the economy at best, do you think that the government has sufficient revenue resources to fulfill this wish list?
We think that the list that we have presented is doable. Is doable by competent economic management. But whether this government has the wisdom and the competence, only you can say, and the people will say. But I think this is a completely doable list.
Supriya from TV9.
Sir, there is this IMF projection of growth rate of 11.5% for 2021. Now, BJP is claiming that India is the only major economy to register double-digit growth this year, and they are saying that this is a testament of India's robust economy. What do you have to say?
Obviously, whoever said that doesn't understand any economic numbers. If the economy will tank 10% in 2020-21, and the economy climbs back, even assuming 10%, you're back to where we started. Please also remember that Ms. Geeta Gopinath, chief economist of the IMF, has said that India will reach pre-COVID levels of growth only in 2025. In 2020-21, they projected a GDP of 224 lakh crore based on the previous year's GDP of 204 lakh crore. This year we will be much below 204 lakh crore. Question is, when will we get back to 204 lakh crore? Certainly not in 21-22. So before you celebrate double-digit growth, remember that you had more than double-digit decline. Was a decision being taken?
इस पर अलग से चर्चा होगी बाद में.
Niyamika, to you.
Sir, my question is, last year COVID-19 has somehow exposed the gap in healthcare sector and also the need of a modernized infrastructure. Sir, as a lack of adequate public health infrastructure and with combined with out-of-pocket expenditure imposes a high burden on the financial burden on the Indian households. So, what is Congress Party's expectations in terms of healthcare sector from the union?
Our statement says so. We will support any significant increase in health infrastructure. If the government allots more money for health infrastructure, Congress Party will support it. As far as out-of-pocket expenses are concerned, it is the poor who are hit more by out-of-pocket expenses, which is why we say that the bottom 20 to 30% of the population must be given cash transfers.
Thank you, sir. Next one, Aditi from the Tribune.
So you just said that you will support any increase in health infrastructure. And we know that there is a lot of fiscal strain. The government is proposing a fresh COVID cess to raise money for what you are saying, enhanced health infrastructure spending. Would the Congress Party support any cess?
No, I can't answer a general question. There is cess on what? If they impose a further cess on petrol and diesel, it's already the highest ever. I believe it's 96 rupees a litre of petrol and 85 rupees a litre of diesel. Question is what cess on whom? On what? So without knowing the details of this proposed cess, it's very difficult to comment. Cess is a very neutral word, but cess on what? Cess on whom? You tell me that and then we will respond to that.
Thank you, sir.